Do you want to launch a no-code app so you can build a new business or maybe scale an existing business, but the development is taking way too long, or maybe your launch has been just pushed back way too far? Well, it's likely because you don't have time. And that sucks because the reality is this app, it has the potential to change your business, to change your career that you're currently in, and maybe even change your life. And so there has to be a way for you to build this asset for yourself so that you can create the business or the lifestyle that you want, even when you don't have all the time in the world. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video, because we help entrepreneurs each and every day go from their idea stage with their app to having that scalable custom application. And every single one of them have businesses, jobs, lives, families, kids, all of that. And they're all achieving this. And so I want to talk about how you can do it too. Now, make sure you stick around until the end because you need to hear every single word of this if you've ever felt like you don't have enough time to devote to getting this app up and running. Now, first, if you're new around here, my name is Kristen, and I'm the co-founder of Coaching No Code Apps, where we help business owners and industry experts build custom apps to either start their app-based businesses or grow their existing businesses, all without coding and with no technical background required. So how do you do that when you don't have time? Now, you may have heard of the Eisenhower Matrix before, and this is really important when we're looking at really building anything, building any type of business, but specifically building an app so that you can launch your business or scale your business. So with the Eisenhower Matrix, we're going to look at the top quadrants here. And over on the left, the quadrant here is focused on things that you're doing, tasks, projects, responsibilities that are important, right? And they are urgent, okay? Meaning they need to happen soon. And over on the right here, we have tasks that are important, but not urgent, okay? So they are very important, but they don't have to happen right now. Now, down in the bottom quadrants here, we have not important tasks, but that are urgent. So fire drills, fires that you have to put out, things like that. And then over here, we have not important and not urgent. These are things that you should really get rid of. But we're going to specifically focus on these top two quadrants here, because what's happening right now when you don't have the time to devote to building and launching your no-code app is you are only focusing on this quadrant here, okay? This is normal life. This is what most people are focused on because every single day you have important and urgent things. Maybe you have kids to take care of, you have a job to go to, you have a business to run, you have all of these other things going on, and all those things that you have to do, they fall into this important and urgent quadrant. And so the problem with most people who set out to launch an app-based business or to build an app to scale their existing business is they cannot get out of this quadrant, no matter how hard they try. And the reality is your app, it falls into this quadrant here. It's important in that, again, it has the potential to change your job, change your business, change your life, right? It is very important, but it's not urgent, because what happens if you put it off for another month? Well, nothing other than you putting off the benefits that you could achieve by having it for another month as well, right? So really, it's easier to put off building your app than it is to put off anything that happens in here. But you have to, you absolutely have to take your app from this quadrant and you have to move it over here for a period of time, okay? Now, This might be the part in the video where you think, well, I can't do that, right? That's why you're here in the first place. But I'm going to tell you how you can. At least I'm going to tell you how all the entrepreneurs who we work with, who are successful, how they do it. And you can do exactly what they're doing as well. Because again, they all have all of these things too, but they're still able to do this, right? They're still able to move their app into that upper left quadrant. So how do they do it? Well, there are 4 specific ways, tactics, strategies, just things that you can do to help you. Number 1, you need to create a sprint, all right? Now, I'm gonna kind of switch into real talk mode here for a moment. If you have anything that you want to achieve that doesn't fall in that upper left quadrant, you have to dedicate a focused, specific amount of time to achieving that upper right quadrant thing, right? So for a period of time, you need to take the upper right quadrant goal and you need to move it here. And you need to do this in a sprint, okay? Because you can't always be bringing things from the right side to the left side, right? That's just, it's not realistic. It's not realistic to always, always, always be pulling more and more into your daily life. But if you want to achieve a thing in the upper right quadrant, you have to move it over. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to do it. Okay, so the easiest way to do this, mentally even, and just on the productivity side, is to create a sprint. So for example, we have a mentorship program where during a certain period of time, a contained period of time, entrepreneurs go from their idea stage to creating their apps so they can launch those businesses, right? Scale those businesses, and they do so in a sprint. There is a clean start and there is a clean finish, where at the finish there is a very specific goal to be achieved. And what happens when you do this, what a lot of people don't realize is after you do that sprint during that contained amount of time, then you can create systems around the thing that you've built. Okay, so let's say you take your app idea from the upper right quadrant, you move it into the upper left for a few months, and you just focus on that, and you work hard, right? You put in the work to start a new venture. Well, once you've built the thing, you can now put systems in place. You can put automations in place that take care of administrative work. You can bring junior developers in-house so that they can now maintain and manage the app. So now what might have taken up this big of a section in this quadrant during that sprint can be removed, okay? And you can come out of the sprint, right? So you have a push and pull period where you push forward with the app, you put the systems in place to maintain it, and then you pull back so that you're no longer in a sprint, all right? That's how you're going to build a business. That's how you're going to build your app, okay? Now, the second thing you can and should do is know how to prioritize, all right? Now, I know this might seem like common sense, but I see this being a problem all the time. What happens is people are more focused on these items, and really I'm just going to leave it at those. People are more focused on those things than they really should be, and they're prioritizing things over in that column, which pulls time away from them being able to focus on their apps. And even when they are focusing on their apps, right? If a person is in a sprint building out their app, if you don't know how to prioritize, then you're going to be building the wrong things. You're going to be building things that do fall into this quadrant down here. And you're going to be delaying your launch by doing so, or you're going to be setting yourself up probably not for a very good launch if you're doing so. So you have to know how to prioritize. So looking at life things, right? I was on a call chatting with one of our entrepreneurs, Thomas, and he is a nationally recognized person in his company, right, in his role. So he has a very busy job life. He has a family. He has a 2.5-year-old. He has another baby on the way. He has, all these things. He's finishing up the last year of his MBA, all these things, right? And he decided to put himself into a sprint where he wanted to launch his app-based business. And so on top of all the other things he did, he decided to build his app. Now, fortunately, Thomas prioritized really well. Life-wise, he decided not to do some of the things that really weren't all that important during this sprint, right? So spending that extra hour each night watching Netflix, right? Eliminate it. It's not forever. You can go back to watching your Netflix later, but eliminate it for a little while. Think if you had an hour a day to spend building your app, where you'd be 3 months from now, probably a lot farther ahead than you currently are. In some cases, it might just mean waking up an hour earlier, okay? It might mean, making some changes to your regular day-to-day life during that time, just to push this venture forward, right, during this contained sprint. If you're on our one of our email subscribers, we're going to be sharing that interview as well with Thomas so that you can get some more insight. So stay tuned for that if you're on the email list. Now, business-wise, or rather app-wise, how to prioritize? Well, you need to make sure you're building the right things at the right time. If you are in development and you're not working on the right features that should go into your pilot launch, into your beta testing, then you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time because you're building the wrong things, and you don't even know if those things should be built right now unless you're getting the feedback, but chances are you're not bringing users on yet because you're building the wrong things, okay? So you have to build the right things at the right time, in the right order. You have to launch at the right time. You have to test the right things at the right time. You have to prioritize if you want to be able to take your app idea from that upper right quadrant and move it to the left. Can you spend the next year building out a really big app without ever bringing users on board? Sure, you can. But if you actually want to successfully launch an app and start building your business or growing your business, you need to prioritize your development and your launches. Okay, so you have to prioritize. Now, number 3, you need to create accountability. Okay. You need to create accountability for yourself. You might like to think that you are capable of doing anything. You might like to think that you are a superhero. Maybe not, but maybe you do. Sometimes I'd like to think that, but it's not reality. That is not the reality. You can't just load more and more on your plate without having some sort of accountability factor in place, right? So, create a sprint, know how to prioritize, but make sure you have someone or something holding you accountable. Make sure you are checking in with checking in with someone, or rather that someone is checking in with you. Okay, if you have accountability in place, I promise you, you are going to be a lot more successful. It's why I spend a lot of money on coaches. It's why we invest in our business to create accountability for ourselves, right? That is part of accomplishing something you want to set out to do, creating accountability, and you can and should do that for yourself. You have to, because otherwise, all of these things always going to win out. Always. You have to have accountability so that you can continue doing these things in the right way to keep pushing you forward. Now we're going to go through one more thing, and that is admitting the truth that you're lying to yourself. You are lying to yourself. If you are telling yourself that you don't have time to build your app and your business, right? You are lying to yourself. You can do it. You can, but not if you don't do these other things as well, right? If you don't do those, then you're right, right? You're not going to be able to accomplish what you're wanting to. But the truth is, if your excuse for not building and launching your app is that you don't have the time, you're lying to yourself. This comes from a place of love and care because I want to see the best for you. I want you to succeed. But I want to give you a little bit of real talk and a reality check too, because I value that same thing. And you're lying to yourself if you're saying that you don't have time. If you don't have time right now, chances are you're not going to have time next month or the next month or the next month. I see this happen all the time, all the time. An entrepreneur will say, I'm going to start building my app, but I have to get through this client project first. Okay, I'm going to start, but I'm taking this vacation first. Right, I'm going to start, but I'm doing this, this, and this first. I need to wait until things slow down. Right now, it's the busy period in our business, so I need to wait until things slow down, or on and on and on. Right? You might have said something like that too, and right now you might be feeling a little bit defensive, and that's okay because again, it comes from a place of love and care. But you're lying to yourself if you're saying you're going to have time later, because when that one client project ends, you're going to have another one. And if you don't have another one, then you're going to be looking for another one. And then that's going to be taking your time. If your business is in its busy period right now and you're waiting until the slow period happens, if you're running a business, there's never a slow period. There's always things to fill up your time. You're never going to have the time. Time is never going to magically fall onto your lap ever, ever, ever. Okay. So real talk, admit the truth, just admit it, right? If you're saying you don't have time, instead tell yourself, well, the reality is I'm not creating a sprint for myself. I don't really know how to prioritize, and I'm not creating any accountability for myself. Those are the things that are happening. It's not that you don't have time. So if you want to have time, if you really want to have time, you technically can, but is that your priority? Okay, that's the real question to ask. So I hope this is helpful for you. It's something that I find to be really important for myself, for our own business, and for every single person who we work with. And these are trends that I also see from them, from the entrepreneurs who we do work with. Every single one of these, when these are put into place, success follows.